Turning out that right foot for me. So it's a deep adductor stretch. So down with the right hand as far as you can. Remember, if you can't get to the floor, put your elbow to the knee, left hand to the ceiling, left hand reaches over your head to stretch out those ribs and shoulders, and drop onto your left hand, pivot onto your toes, and take that right arm to the ceiling. So you're twisting through that spine. Now change to the other side. So go all the way over to that left foot, bending your left knee, and twist the right arm up to the ceiling. Good. Arm goes over your head, big stretch out, and then drop the right hand onto the floor and twist and take that left hand to the ceiling. Open up that lower back. Let's do 2 more, all the way back over to the right hand side, bending that knee, twist the left hand up, reach that arm over your head, big stretch out, and then drop onto that left hand and twist that right arm up to the ceiling. You're sinking your pelvis towards the floor. Now let's do it 1 more time, over to the left, bending that knee, right hand goes up, and arms go over your head, nice big stretch. Drop down onto the right hand and twist the left hand to the ceiling. And again, sink your hips towards the floor. Drop the 2 hands onto the ground, drop your back knee onto the floor, and put your 2 hands on your front knee. Now, I want you to push your hips forward. So bend this front knee to pull you forward into that stretch, and just squeeze your butt back here. So tightening up your glutes will help this muscle to stretch. And if you feel comfortable, you can take your 2 hands to the ceiling. If not, just keep your hands on your front knee. Hold that stretch for 3, for 2, for 1. Drop those hands and go to the other side. So back knee to the floor. And you're going to push those hips forward. Now again, let the front knee bend to pull the pelvis forward. Now again, squeeze the glutes. When you're balanced, if you're okay, take those hands up towards the ceiling. If not, keep those hands on your knee. Reach up for again, 3, for 2, for 1. And then bring it back into center. 2 legs nice and wide. Put your left hand onto the ground. Twist that right arm up to the ceiling. Now turn your head to look up towards that ceiling. Open up those back muscles. Slowly change those arms, twisting gently through the spine, and drop those hands onto the floor. Walk your feet together, pull your tummy muscles in, and roll that spine back up. So 2 ankles touching, 2 feet together. Hands onto your legs, chin to your chest. Slide down only as far as you feel comfortable with that stretch, and you're bending the right leg and keeping that left knee straight. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg. And as you straighten out the legs, squeeze those thigh muscles together, roll that spine back up, roll your shoulders back and down, and bring your 2 heels together, toes out, curl your spine down, so round your back, slide your hands down and stop at the point where you feel your hamstrings stretching, and then you bend that right leg, keeping that left leg straight. And then straighten the right leg, bend your left leg, and just feel that pull coming up through your hips and hamstrings. Straighten out the knees, roll back up, squeeze those thighs, roll your shoulders back, bring your toes in and heels out. Last one, curl down, hands onto your legs, come down slowly into that stretch, bending out the right leg and keep that left leg straight. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg. And as you straighten out those knees, roll that spine back up, and then sit down, get comfortable. Let's get those long bands and start with the long bands. So the little C curve that we're doing, they're actually quite good for kind of softening the back, but engaging those tummy muscles. So wrap the bands around your feet and take a short grip on those bands. So take it at least halfway down. Now you have to use your arms a bit more, but it's fine. Lift those spines up out to the pelvis. So we're going to wake up these back muscles. Take your hands so that your wrists are facing up towards the ceiling. Now straighten those arms out and then start to roll down. Now if you need more support, you're going to pull on these bands, but try curl down slowly through that spine. See if you can tip your lower back to the ground. Even if it's only halfway down, that's fine. Just go down as far as you can and then use your arms to come back up. So we're going to use these little biceps and we're going to pull and squeeze the muscles of the back of the shoulder and straighten up your back as much as you can. Inhale, exhale, come down. So even if it's only halfway, pull those two muscles in. Don't just rely on the bands to hold in your stomach. Hold and then come back up. Use your arms to come back up, round your spine, coming forward. Then lift the spine, squeeze the shoulders. Last 4. So exhale, pull the abdominals in as you come down. Slowly see if you can get your back to the floor if you can. Perfect. Slowly come back up. Use your biceps to come back up. Lift the spine, squeeze those elbows back. Inhale for 3. Exhale. Come down slowly. See if you can tilt your pelvis, print your back. See if you can come back up without struggling too much. Come back up, lift that spine. Inhale, let's do 2 more. Exhale. So again, only go halfway. If you can only go as far as here without getting stuck, go as far as here. You don't have to go any further. Come back up, use those biceps, come up. Lift those spines, squeeze the back of the shoulders. Last 2, exhale, we're gonna go down, rolling down. Probably adding on here, can't even remember. Come slowly back up, use those biceps, lift those spines. Now keep those necks nice and long, no pulling up those shoulders. Now in the last one, I want you to roll down just halfway. We're not getting the lower back to the ground, just roll back halfway. Keep a little bit of tension in those bands and look at those belly buttons and just focus on your breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then when we're here, press the legs out nice and straight so your knees go down to the floor. Press those knees down. See if you can go all the way backwards, all the way back into the mat. Sink your spine good all the way down. Now, coming back up, you're going to use those arms. So we're going to pull the belly button down to the spine, chin to the chest. You're going to look at those hands and do a bicep curl. So this is going to assist you come back up. Keep the toes pointed so the band doesn't hit you in the face. Now, if you're still struggling coming back up, put a small jumper underneath your lower back because all that stops you doing the roll up is the tightness here in your back. It's nothing really to do with the abdominals being weak. So now change your hand position for me. I want you to put your hands on top of the bands so we can pull back with those elbows. So pull back with those elbows. And that pulls you down deep into that stretch. Now you're going to inhale, keep your elbows tucked. Exhale, round your back, come down slowly. And again, if you need that little jumper underneath your lower back, get a little jumper. Lengthen your arms as you go down. So let the biceps do most of the work. Press your shoulders back. So press your knuckles into the ground and just hold that activation in your shoulders. Inhale, exhale, do a bicep curl up. So look at your belly button and you're doing your bicep curl and it's pulling the abdominals in because you've less effort on those tummy muscles. Come forward, do a little pull with those arms and just stretch out those hamstrings. So we're going to do 2 more. Straighten up the back muscles. Inhale, exhale, fold the abdominals in half and let the bands do most of the work, but look at your belly button. Train your tummy muscles to pull in on the way down. It's a really good way because if you're constantly relying on strength to do this exercise and you don't have that connection, that pull in your tummy, it's going to push out. So when you come back up, look at your belly button. See if you can pull down, pull down, pull down. So there's less effort on the abdominals. You should be able to keep that belly button pulled in. Let's go forward, stretch out those hamstrings, not forcing it. Last one, just for good luck. Inhale, come down, exhale. Now pause halfway down. This is where the abdominals work the most, okay? So hold this position. Let's do a few bicep curls, tiny little bends to those elbows. Wake up those biceps. Do not let go of those bands. Do 4. Feel the tummy's kicking in for 3, for 2, and 1. Go all the way back down onto that mat. Bring your 2 heels in slowly. And then let go of those bands, float your knees over to one side, press your shoulders back, and just open up that lumbar spine. Pull your belly button in as you do so. And then slowly go across the other side, knees to the floor. Just feel how tight your lower backs are. Just go all the way across from one side to the other. And then bring it back into center. Now, let's lose those bands to the side. You won't need them just yet. I'm going to get you to come up onto your hands. Now, you can do this on your elbows, but I find a lot of people kind of hang from the neck muscles. So we're actually going to come up onto the hands. Now, you can bend your elbows to this little exercise. That's fine. You can have your fingers facing towards your feet or fingers facing the other way. It's completely up to yourself. Take your legs up to tabletop. I'm actually going to turn my hands the other way. So legs up to tabletop. Perfect. Now, in this position, we're going to do the obliques. The obliques are these side muscles here. You're going to twist, pivot over to the right, and you're going to tip your feet down to the edge of your mat. So this is going to work the left oblique as we're going to the right. Come back to tabletop. Inhale, exhale, pivot over and tip towards that mat. Now, there's loads of variations of this little exercise. Just the main ones are taking the legs further away from you as you're reaching those legs down. Pulling them back to tabletop and doing the same thing. Go to the edge of your mat, but go further. If you're a little bit stronger, lengthen those legs. That's it. Perfect. So you can play around with it. You can straighten those legs right out if you want to. Press, extend, lower, down. Bend those knees to tabletop. The last 2. Feel those stomachs, feel those hips. Everyone's like dying. Last one. Iris is going back for a cup of tea. And Bring it back to center, release. That is a tough little challenge, guys. Come back to the mat, soften out those back muscles, pull your knees in. Now, when you engage these muscles, the front of your hips, that's your hip flexor, you do activate those low back muscles. So we're just going to switch them off here for a second. We're going to pull the knees in, rock gently from side to side, and we're just going to lie here and stretch for a second. So let's hold the left leg, take the right leg, press it out, and bring it down to that mat. Okay, now keep pulling in that left knee. So keep pulling into your stomach and just hold that stretch. You're not just holding it, I want you to pull it in. Now, think about your right leg. Extend the right leg out nice and straight. Curl your toes so your heel bone is pointing at that end wall. And you're trying to lock that leg down. Don't squeeze your thigh, because if you squeeze the thigh, you're keeping your hip flexor active. Think about pushing the back of your knee and the back of the heel into the floor. Think about squeezing your right bum cheek to get this hip to open up. And just focus on your breathing and keep squeezing the butt, not the thigh, squeeze the butt. That's it for 3 and 2. Keep squeezing that butt. And 1 and release. Pull in the right knee. Slowly extend out the left leg. Now, we're going to do this one with the toes pointed. See if that's easier for you to switch off your quads. Because with the toes curled, I do have a tendency myself to tense up the quads, the front of the thighs. So point your toes this time and think about squeezing your left bum cheeks. Think about pressing your left heel to the floor, left calf to the floor, and you're still pulling in that right leg. And that should open up the hip flexor even better. Heads are relaxed onto the floor. And again, if your neck is hyperextended, you can put a cushion behind your head. And just focus on your breathing for 3, 2, keep pulling in that right knee. Last one. And then bring it back into center. Now hug both knees into your chest, guys. We're going to lift the head, neck, and shoulders up. So curl your heads up towards your knees as high as you can. And again, look at those 2 muscles. Pull down. Grab the right knee and send that left leg out away from you. And you're hovering your heel 1 inch off the floor. So pull the right knee into the right shoulder. Change the leg and see if you can keep your head in the same position. You're not moving those heads. And go slow. Pull the 2 muscles in, swap those legs. So it's really slow motion exercise and you're engaging those tummies. If your neck gets tired, and it will, you can put 1 hand behind your head and keep pulling 1 knee in while you lengthen the other leg. And you can swap the hands or just keep 1 hand behind your head the whole time. We're going to do another 6. So if you're comfortable, keep both hands on that knee. For 5, and just think about going slow. You're pressing your legs out through jelly. So press it out for 4. Push it down towards that mat. For 3, or feel those 2 muscles kicking in again. If your neck gets tired, hand behind your head. Last 2, push that foot down through jelly. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Last 1. And then drop back down to the floor. Again, stay with your knees tucked into your stomach, into your chest, and rock from side to side. Now, let's use our hands as our support. So we're going to take the 2 hands underneath that butt. This is the simplest tool that we can use. So your hands go underneath your butt. It's not underneath your arch of your back. It's not underneath like that high part of your pelvis. Get it nice and low to the bottom of your glutes. Now, get your legs into tabletop. So that is knees over your hips, knees over your hands, basically where they are now. Good. Pull the 2 muscles in and just drop your right heel slowly down and just tip the heel bone onto the floor and then pull it back up. Okay, now this is a simple one. Left heel, do the same thing. Now pull your muscles in. Don't just rely on your hands wedged underneath your butt to hold you in this position. Press your shoulders back into the ground and press, if you imagine, across the rib cage back into the floor. Pressing your, well, not really your lower back, but if you need to print your spine, do print your spine. Now, we're going to tip the heel to the floor. We're going to extend the leg out nice and straight and then kick it up to the ceiling slowly. Bend the knee to tabletop. So it's more legs. So heel to the floor and the other leg. Straighten, kick up, bend. Yes. So heel to the ground, heel down, straighten, kick up, bend. Feel those thighs working. Let's do it again. So it's heel, straighten, kick, bend. We're going to do 4 more. And again, heel, straighten, kick, bend. Now squeeze those thighs. Last 3. Heel, straighten out that kneecap, kick, and bend. Last 2. Legs should be feeling this. Heel, straighten, kick, and bend is the last one. And heel, straighten, kick, And then grab your knees with your hands, switch off those little thighs and hip flexors. You should be feeling that right on the front of your thighs into those hips. And we're going to release those little hip flexors. So again, we're just rocking from side to side. We're going to release the lower back now. We're going to straighten the left leg out to the floor. So drop the left leg down. Grab that right knee with your left hand and let's go all the way over to that left-hand side. So go all the way over as if you're lying on your side completely. So adjust your body. Take the right arm up. Now, instead of going behind the shoulder blades today, we're actually going to go above the head. So take the right hand and reach it above your head. And you're trying to get your back of your hand to touch the floor. Your armpit, your chest is trying to stretch up towards the ceiling. And you're just going to breathe in through the nose, out to the mouth. Now, I want you to actively reach to those arms and actively push that knee to the floor. And just hold, nice big stretch out through the lats, down across your intercostal muscles, a little bit into your lower back, but not as much as if we were twisting to the side. Now slowly bring everything back into center, nice and gentle. Pull in the right knee, pull in the left knee. So again, your lower back is soft into the mat. Extend the right leg out and grab that left knee with your right hand. Now go across slowly, just check your lower back is okay. Get your knee to the floor first. Take the left hand, reach it up and go behind your head. Let your hand, imagine you got a little small weight in your hand. Just let it hang back there. Let it open up slowly into that stretch. This side is definitely tighter on my back. So focus on your breathing and you're getting to relax that spine a little bit more. Twisting a little bit further if possible and trying to keep that knee on the floor. Take another big breath in. And then exhale, bring it back into center. Pull your knees in and just bring your heads up to your knees. Start to do little tiny massages for your back and then do full rolls if you're okay with that. So from tailbones to shoulder blades, coming all the way up, grab the ankles, grab the calves, whatever you want, just to soften out those back muscles. Inhale, exhale, really relaxing the vertebrae as you roll back. Do another 4, nice and gentle for 3. And 2 more. And last one. Inhale, exhale, roll back up for you guys. So let's get those activation bands. So again, if you don't have an activation band, take your long band and make it nice and short into a loop to wrap over those legs. All right, so get comfortable. We're going to put the bands. Where am I going to put them today? Yeah, do you know what? We'll put it above the knees. And we're going to go back into tabletop position with those legs. Now we're going to use your hands underneath your backside. Just this is our sensory tool. You're going to take your legs into tabletop position. And you can put your hands any way that you want, but I like palms down because it's easier for everyone's shoulder girdle. So tabletop is knees again over your hips. Bands are just above those knees. And get nice and comfortable. And all you're going to do is you're going to exhale and you're going to press out into the bands. Now you're going to feel this hip working. As you press out, you should feel the muscles tightening up on top of your hands because that's where your hands are going to be, underneath those butts. So you're going to exhale, press back, activate those hips, and your lower back is supported by keeping your hands under your butt. Exhale, press out. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Inhale, release. Do it again. Exhale, press out. Inhale, release. Good. Now push out as hard as you can. Keep those hands underneath your butt. That's for back support, but it also teaches you to feel the muscles that you're firing up. So again, the long bands, you're just tying into a loop. That's it. And get it right above those knees. And this is just warming up those hips. You should be feeling this anyway. So keep those tummies in and let's do another 4 more. That's it. Good. Push out as hard as you can. Squeeze for a second. For 3, exhale, press out, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now last 2, push out and feel the activation on those hands that your butt is sitting on top of. This is the last one. Press out and hold it out there. Press out and hold and just feel those muscles. Hold it. Now let's do little tiny pulses. That's it. Let's do 6, 5, 4, for 3. Nearly there. 2, 2.5. 2 3/4, And one, drop those feet onto the floor. Now your hips should be nice and warm. Let's start with the feet together, but your knees out into those bands, okay? So feet together, knees out. And I'm gonna get you to put your hands up towards the ceiling because you don't need your arms for this bridge. You're gonna do a little tailbone tucks, then roll the spine up into bridge. And that's all we're doing. We're keeping the knees wide, feet together, and you're gonna feel the activation on your glutes. And then we soften the spine into the floor. Inhale and exhale. Do another 4 of these. We're going to change the foot position in a minute. Curling the spine down through the mat. Arch the back with the knees wide and then roll back up. 3 more. Exhale. Squeeze that butt. Curl the spine back down. Keep pressing those knees wide. Last 2. Squeeze that glute and roll the spine back down. Keep the knees wide, feet together. Last one for me. Tuck and roll those hips up and then roll the hips back down. So that's just a nice softening for the back. Now take your feet wide and bring your knees together. So your knees are about probably a fist distance apart, kneecaps kind of narrow. Good. Hands up to the ceiling again. Now you're going to roll your hips up with your knees close enough together. When you get to the highest part of the bridge, roll the knees out wide. So roll the knees out into the band. Now roll the knees in and roll the spine back down. So this is really good for the lumbo hip complex. So basically low back and hip together. So you do your bridge with your knees close together, close enough, they're not touching. And then when you go up into bridge, you roll the knees out, roll the knees back in, and then you curl back down. Slowly get that lower back to move. Inhale, 4 of these. Exhale, tuck and roll. Roll the knees wide, roll the knees together, and then curl back down. Your knees are not touching, but they're close enough together. Last 3, inhale. Exhale, roll those hips up, press out, press in, roll back down. So separate those movements. Last 2. Now again, think about arching and rolling and tucking your pelvis. So it gets that lower back, that tight area in your lower back to soften up. This is the last one, guys. Now we're going to roll the pelvis up into the ceiling. We're going to hold it up here and we're going to go out and in with the knees. So out and in with those knees. And your feet are still wider than your hips. That's it. Feet wide. Good. Feel those little hips firing up. Do another 4 and 3. Squeeze those butts. Last 2. And last 1. Roll everything back down and just grab your knees for a second. That's a little tiny stretch for those hips. And then take those beautiful bands off your legs. Now we're going to go to our little gurney balls. If you don't have a gurney ball, just grab, say, your feet up on top of a chair or a couch, or even your big ball. If you don't have a small ball, grab the big ball. But we're going to do it on the little balls this morning, the little small ones. Now this one is going to incorporate the glutes, but it's also incorporate the hamstrings and the low back, because you can't do one without the other anyway. So let's put the heels on the ball, as in put your heels, say, the far side of that ball. So just let them hang over. And if you look down, actually, I'm not going to give you any instruction for the first one. So even if your feet are on like a small little chair or something, that's fine. It's the same idea. It's just to get the glutes and the hamstrings to fire up as one. So heels are just a little bit higher than the hips, or if you have your feet in the chair, that's fine. All right, so no instruction for the first one. All I'm going to get you to do is put your hands on the floor and you're going to lift your butts off the ground. So lift your butts off the floor. And straight away, for most people, they'll feel it in the hamstrings, they might feel it in the glutes, but they'll definitely feel it into the low back area, because we do our walking and running and most of our exercises from the back and not the glutes. So now we're going to sequence. So drop the hips back down. So this is called sequencing, where I teach you how to fire the glutes before the back and the hamstrings. Well, the hamstrings work at the same time. So get your feet, turn your toes out like Charlie Chaplin, and for the young ones, it's Donald Duck. And I want you to think about all the money in your pockets is spilled out onto the floor, and you've got to squeeze or gather the money up with your butt cheeks, okay? So you got to roll your butt cheeks together really tight. So now you've sequenced, you've activated the glutes, your hands are pressed into the floor, and all you do is you lift the money off the ground. Now you should be feeling glutes, but you should definitely, well, a little bit on the back, but definitely feeling glutes fire up before your back and less pressure on your back. And then you just drop back down, you release. Now again, keep the toes turned out. Think about pulling the money together into a nice, neat little heap. And then you're just going to lift that money off the floor. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch off. So we're just firing up and activating the glutes. Inhale. Exhale. Squeeze the money. Lift the money. and then roll back down. This sounds like stripper training, but it's genuinely Pilates. So squeeze the money, lift the money. As long as I don't start shouting, you show me the money. We're going to hold that position, keep the glutes active for 4 seconds, drop back down. Now we're going to do 3 more of these. Think about your butt. Always squeeze and then lift from the butt up. That's it. 3, 2, 1. Come back down. Last 2. Take a deep breath. Squeeze, lift. Hold it for 3, 2, 1. Let's drop back down. It's the last one. This is where we go for a little bit of endurance. Okay, so toes out, squeeze the butt, lift the butt, hold it. Now stay there, squeeze those glutes. Now this is mainly for the guys with the feet on the ball. See if you can take your hands off the floor and stay balanced. Now, if you have your feet on the chair, it's grand. It still hurts like hell. And that's really going to fire up those glutes. You got 6 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Oh, it should burn nicely. Pull your knees in again. And you should be feeling here back at the hamstrings into those little glute muscles. Now, we're going to do a scissors stretch this morning. Now, the scissor stretch, it is more of an intermediate exercise, but you guys are super strong. I'm going to get you to use, if you have a Gurdy ball, use the Gurdy ball, but if you have a thick cushion, you can do the exact same thing. It makes the scissors that little bit more doable. Now, the ball is just so versatile. They're quite small, quite cheap, and they just do everything for us. You're going to put the ball, say, not in your lower back. You're going to put it against, say, the back of your rib cage. If you have a thick cushion or a pillow, put it in the exact same position. Now, your length of your torso to the length of your leg is going to be different, so your ball position is going to be different. So when we do this exercise, like say we're taking the right leg up to the ceiling as straight as you can, and the left leg goes out. The minute my left leg goes out, it feels like I want to fall that way. So that means the ball is too close to my butt. So I bring it up towards the shoulder blades, and that allows me to lie back. But I'm not putting too much pressure on these neck muscles. So if you're not as flexible as in getting that leg straight, just straighten out as much as you can. Grab the hamstring. You don't have to go as high as the calf muscle, okay? So you're going to pull the 2 muscles in, and we're going to scissor swap those legs. And if you find that when that leg goes down, you're falling forward, bring the ball up further towards your shoulder blades. So you're going to scissor swap to stretch. Scissor swap to stretch. I find it easier to grab the calf only because of the height of the torso. It makes it a little bit easier. And we're not hanging, usually we're on the floor, we're hanging those neck muscles. And I love scissors, but it does recruit those neck muscles too much. This is just a nice way to do it and not compensate those necks. Good. And you should be able to touch your face and your kneecaps together easily. Iris, let's do another 6. Balking at the camera there. 5. She did it. She headbutts herself. 4 more. For 3 more. You're so close, Elaine. You're like this much more. Last 2. Get right into that leg. Last one. And then, guys, drop back down. And just kind of, if you have the ball there, just kind of scoot down and just rest your head on that ball. The ball is lovely, like a little cushion there. So just rest your head on the ball. Walk your heels out to the edge of your mat. So this is just for hip mobility. Take your hands out to the side and roll your knees from one side to the other. So again, cushions, back of the neck, ball in at the back of the neck. And you're just rocking from side to side. Nice and gentle. Just think about your hips rolling in their joint as you go from left to right. Good. Not too bad. So let's do another 4, 3, and 2, and 1. Release. Now let's take those little balls out. Let's come up and over. Now we're going to do a little bit on those thigh muscles, and this next exercise is a little challenge. My little challenges are only little, they're only teeny tiny. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start in child pose position. Now this is the position that you end up in if you don't want to do the next level. That's all I'm going to say. So you end up in child pose if you want to. But from here, you're going to dig your toes in underneath you. Dig your toes onto the floor. And you're going to extend the arms forward. So it still looks like a child pose. So again, if you don't want to do the hard version, you drop to your knees. From this position, I want everyone to push up into plank. Okay, into plank position. Now, your shoulders over your wrists. And I want you to look at your feet. Turn your heels in. So your heel bones are touching and your toes are just slightly outwards. That's it. And you're squeezing that butt. So when you're here in plank, you're engaging your stomach and your shoulders. Now, when we go back, again, you can go back to child pose, Or bend the knees and sit back as if you're going to go towards the floor, but you don't let your knees touch the ground. And that's really tough. And then you come forward into what's called a power plank, and you squeeze those ankle bones together. Inhale. And then you come all the way back into that movement. Exhale, go forward, press those ankles, heels together. Okay, now if you want to, go back to child pose. You won't be able to keep the heels together, but that's fine. And then you exhale, power plank. And it's still going to work your quads. It's just less effort on those knees. Inhale, exhale, come forward. This is a nice little challenge. So when you go back, yes, you can hover the knees or drop the knees. We're going to do 4 of these because this is grand. Inhale as you come back. Exhale, come forward and squeeze those thighs. That's it for 3. Inhale. Come back. Exhale, travel forward. Feel those thigh muscles. Mine are shaking from yesterday's class. Last 2. Inhale. Exhale, come forward. And then last one. Inhale. And then exhale, come forward into plank, and then drop the knees to the ground, sit back, child pose. And you should be feeling these thigh muscles. That's what we were aiming for. Stretch those arms out in front. Now, I'm going to teach you how to do a deep quad stretch today, and you're going to need your couch, a chair, or the wall, or if you have a big body ball, use the big body ball. Now, you're going to need a pillow or a cushion. Actually, I moved mine back over here again. This is only to put your knees on. Now, when you do have problems, say with your knees, your hips, or your lower back, a lot of the time it's congestion in the quads and not getting those deep stretches. Because when we go out for a walk, and we come back, for whoever does a stretch, most people say grab the heels to the butt if you can do that, and they'll do this, and that's only stretching 3 of your 4 quads. The long quad is the one over the rec frame. It crosses your knee and your hip. This is only stretched when you bring that knee back, but a lot of people arch the back. So this is the stretch I'm going to show you how to do. It's called a couch stretch, but you can do it against anything. I'm only using the ball because I don't have a couch up here. And you're going to have, say this is my couch, or this is my chair, you're going to have your cushion wedged into the bottom of that couch. Your knee goes onto that cushion. So your knee has to get as close to that couch, close to that edge as you can. Okay? So you're going to get your foot up on top of the couch and your knee as close to the bottom of the couch as you can. And I'm just using the ball because it's there. So Dolores, if you want to use the ball, you can use the ball, or put your foot, actually you've got a couch behind you. Put your foot up on top of that couch, and that's even easier. And wedge the cushion in against the edge. Yes, that's it. Even a chair. Get your knee, say, directly in the bottom part of the couch or the chair. That's it. Now, I'm doing this on my right leg, so I'm going to put my left leg like this. You're going to use your hands and take the left leg up. So left leg comes up. Now, doing that part, that's usually fine. Good. So most people have the hips here bent, and that's fine, and you don't really feel a stretch. If you do feel a stretch, it just means you've really tight quads. So what you got to do is you actually push your pelvis forward, and you got to squeeze your butt. And when you push your pelvis forward, then you feel that burning sensation of a quad, especially up here. I'm congested here on my hip flexor. And we give it a little rest. We come back towards the couch, and then we push the hips forward, squeeze. Now, this one's a sliding stretch. This is basically where we're getting the quads to stretch and relax, and we're sliding the muscles against the next set of muscles. And we're trying to get it to open. It's also a really good nerve flossing. If anyone knows what nerve flossing is, it's basically where the nerve is in the center of the muscle or just under the muscle, and it gets stuck. And what we're doing is we're stretching and pulling the nerve through it like a piece of wool under a sheet of paper. We're trying to get it to loosen up. Okay, so we're just pushing forward and back, and you should be getting to the point where you feel that stretch the quads. Now we're just going to push forward and hold that position. Now, when you push forward, think about squeezing your butt. Right now, I'm not fired up. I have to think about squeezing the butt. A lot of people will push forward and activate the quads, and it's not really stretching. You got to squeeze here and hold that stretch and feel that burning sensation. This is really good for knee health because a lot of people have lost that flexibility and mobility to the knee joint. Now, when you get more flexible, you don't have to do it now, but if you get a little more comfortable, you can actually put your 2 hands, bit of balance, on top of that front knee. And that's where you build up to. Again, if you can do it now, you do it now. You can put your hands on a couch or a small child or whatever's there close by, and you hold that stretch. Now, the same thing, you can switch off by bending at the hips and falling this morning, and then push the hips forward. And again, same thing, try squeeze here. Very hard to squeeze, very hard to sequence the glutes to fire up. So maybe grab your glute and tell it to fire up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then come back. Okay, and you're just doing that, and you're going to feel that deep burning stretch. And again, if it's too much, hands go back down onto the floor. Do another 4. That's it. Forward and back. Feel those glutes firing up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And just check. You might think, yeah, I'm definitely firing up the glutes. Nope, you won't be. Check your glutes. Grab it every now and then. Squeeze. And it's really bad. And on the last one, drop your hands down onto the floor. Bring this left leg back in towards the couch. And then you get to come off that couch slowly. All right, so let's do the other side. Yay. And hopefully it's not as bad. But this is just one of the best stretches. If anyone's doing a lot of walking, get on the couch every now and then, do this stretch. Hopefully every day that you do a walk. But yeah, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So the same thing, your knee is as close to the bottom of the couch as you can get it. And you're on a cushion or a pillow or a blanket. The thicker the thing, the nicer that is on the knees. The right leg I'm taking off, and I'm just going to bring it forward. And we're going to start in that position. Now, if you've got really poor flexibility, you can have your knee further away from that anchor point. Now, the same thing, I'm just going to push forward, squeeze the butt, and then switch off. So I'm just testing the muscles, squeezing, and then switch off. That's it. Iris, grab a band around your leg there, throw that leg around there, stretch it out like you just don't care. Pushing the hips forward. That's it. Squeeze those glutes, guys. Now again, use one hand, maybe put your hand on your hip, and again, you might think, yeah, I'm definitely squeezing the glutes. 100%, most of us don't squeeze the glutes when we go forward. Let's do another 2. Squeezing and back. And then one more, just checking that you're active. Now try increase it if you're capable. Again, you might think not a chance, and then you just do it. Oh, this leg is way worse. Even coming up, I feel like I want to stay here. That's enough of my stretch. And if you are very tight, stay forward and then build up to going upright. So same thing, you bend at the hip to switch off the stretch, just a little bit, and then push the hip forward, stretch. Good. Now again, reach back with one hand, check your glutes, and see if it fires up at all. I can straight away, I can feel it. My left hip does not want to fire up. And that means this quad is staying too tight, okay? So I've got to check that I'm squeezing the butt as I push the hips forward. And then pull back. It's very hard to get this butt to fire up. Do 4. This leg is so bad. It's so tight. For 3. Oh, it's burning. Last 2. Good. Perfect. And then last one, just hold on the last one for me, guys. Squeeze that butt, just hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly come back down to the mat. Drag your legs back together and then take your legs off that chair or couch or ball or whatever you had, and then come back into a child pose for me. So back into child pose, foreheads down, arms out in front. That ball did not go into the ring. And just relax there into that little stretch. Take the 2 hands over and across to one side. And when we do that deep quad stretch, it is amazing actually for your lower back because it stops that pull on the front of your pelvis. It stops the shortening of your hip flexors. Let's take the hands all the way across the other side. Reach those hands over, stretching at those ribs. Nice and gentle. And then bring it back into center. Let's take we'll take the short band. Yeah, we'll do long band because everyone has definitely got a long band. So if you have the long band tied up into a short band, you can keep it at that. It makes no odds. But let's open up those hips and hamstrings. Let's come down to the mat. Let's do our mobility work for this little area. So mobility is movement in the hips. Flexibility is flexibility in the muscles. Okay. So we're just working on mobility today. All right. So right foot into the bands, and you're going to take halfway grip along those long bands and get your elbow to the floor. Now, I don't want you to, I don't want your leg, folded down top of your face. I want your leg just to stretch up. You'll feel a little pull, but not to your last point, not to your sticking point, okay? So elbows on the floor, you're going to inhale, and then you exhale, press down, even just halfway there, that's fine. Your leg is not going to, be working too hard, but you're just going to swing that leg up and down. Now, your objective is not to increase flexibility here. We're just trying to increase range, okay? Keep your elbows on the floor so you're supporting that hamstring as it goes up and down. And as you press down, you're kind of activating the glutes. Not really, just a little bit. And then it goes up and it's a little bit of a stretch. Perfect. Now, go up so that your heel is relatively pointing up towards the ceiling. Good. Now, keep the left knee bent. And all I want you to do now is bend in your right leg. So bend your knee to your chest. Press that leg up to the ceiling. So we're activating the quads now. So bend the knee, press the leg up. And this is an active stretch for the hamstrings. You're just bending and straightening up to the ceiling. Yes. Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Last 3. Curl the toes so your heel bone is the furthest point. 2 more. And then last one, hold that stretch up there. Good. Now, keep that same position. I'm going to turn this way so you can see it. My left leg is still bent. All I want you to do is swing that right leg out to the right because you've got the range. Keep your left hip on the floor. And then you roll it just across your body, and you're keeping that left knee bent deliberately so it stops you going all the way over, so we're not rolling the spine. So go out to the right, inner thigh, adductor stretch. And then we're going over to the left, and that's IT and biceps mores. So it's hamstring and IT band. So keep swinging from side, pause, to side and pause. Really good stretch. Keep the knee dead straight. And again, you're going to feel the hamstrings definitely, but we're working across the back of the hamstring, across all the fibers, working for hip mobility now. Good. And when you cross the leg over, you're not going to go for range. You're just crossing the leg over to open up the side of what's called the biceps femoris, which is the outer part of your hamstrings. Keep the right hip, right bum cheek on the floor so you're not rolling over too far. That's it. Now, go over to that left-hand side with that right leg. Go over there and hold it. Your legs across. Think about that right hip. Think about it pushing back into the floor just an inch, just 1 inch, but keep that right leg there and hold it. Feel that pull to the side of your calf, maybe in the side of your knee, into the side of your hamstrings, back your hamstrings, IT band area, and just wiggle your foot. That's all we're doing is wiggle in the foot. Perfect. That's it. Now, from here, we're going to bend the knee to the chest. Take the 2 ends of your bands now, okay? Pull them up to the left shoulder. This is a bit more hip mobility. So you're pulling this right leg towards your left shoulder. And now we're going to kick out across. Yes, IT band. And then bend that leg. Okay? So we're going to press across. So I can see you guys in the camera. That's perfect. And then we bend to release. Perfect. Do 4. Nice and gentle. Bend to release. For 3. And then the release is still a stretch for your hip as well. Good. Last 2. And this is going to be really good for lower back pain as well. Last one, press that heel out. Bend your knee in and just hold that stretch. Take a tighter grip, pull that leg a little bit further towards your left shoulder. The band is coming up towards your left shoulder. Focus on your breath, relaxing that right hip. Let it open for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do the same to your other leg. So let's hook the left foot. Now again, we're not trying to open up the major belly of the hamstring here. We're just trying to get range at that hip joint. So left leg is straight, right leg is bent. Your left heel is pointing up towards the ceiling, and you're going to bend those elbows, get your elbows onto the floor. So again, you're not trying to bring your leg to your face. You're going to swing the leg down to activate or shorten the glutes and hamstrings. And then you come up and release. Now think about squeezing your butt. Remember the activation? Think about squeezing your butt when your leg goes down and then come up. And that's actually quite good because you're strengthening and shortening a muscle fiber. And then you get it to switch off to stretch. Inhale, exhale, squeeze the butt, lower, release the butt, stretch. Okay? Nice and easy. Let's do 4, down and squeeze, up and release. For 3, down and squeeze. Squeeze that butt. Come back up. And last 2, go down, squeeze the butt. So you're going to go straight leg, Mary. We're not going to cross just yet. You're on the wrong one. You're just super advanced. Straight leg down to the floor. Down, yes, straight down. Now let's go up and hold that position. Now keep your elbows on the floor. And this is where we're going to go all the way to the left to open up the adductors. Pause for a second. Now, when you go across the body, keep the left hip on the floor. Go across to the right, but keep your left hip on the floor. So swing out to the left and your elbows are still on the ground. And then go across the body. And just feel it. It's a nasty little stretch, especially on this left leg. My left quad was bad, so my left hamstring is just as bad. As I swing it across, I feel that right into the side of the hip. This is amazing for hip mobility, guys. And we're going to do another 3, all the way across and back. Last 2. Gonna go across and slowly back. And this is the last one. Go across just for a second. Hold it there. Now curl your toes. Feel that burning sensation. It could be in your calves, your knees, your hamstrings, your hip or IT band. It's across the body. You're over on that right side. So Leon, just take that leg over to the right hand side. Yes, that's it. Hold it. Now your knee, your right knee is folded out. I want you to keep that knee up. That's it. Up a little bit higher. That's perfect. Now just stay there, guys. Feel that burning sensation. Start to wiggle your foot. And hopefully that might soften it a little bit as it softens the fascia in the calves, the knees, all the way down through the IT band into your hip. And then we bend the knee in. So we keep that right leg bent. We're keeping it there. We're going to grab the 2 ends of the bands towards the right shoulder. All right. Now we're going to do our mobility work here. We're going to kick that leg out, curl the toes at the highest point. And then we bend the knee into the chest. So we're going to kick across the body, slowly check. Your hip is okay with this movement. If you don't like it, just go halfway up. So just go up a little bit and then bend that knee. If you're comfortable, extend the leg and just control the extension, that you're not snapping that knee joint into lock position, okay? So don't go fast. Do another 4, press, bend that knee in. For 3, press out, bend that knee in. Last 2. Press across. And on your last one, we're going to press out, bend the knee in and pull a little bit further on that band to open up that left hip, left piriformis, release, and hopefully that sciatic nerve, if there's any, issues in that hip. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Drop those bands down and let's get our spikies, guys. So grab your little spikies and get nice and comfortable. And we're going to loosen up these hips. I'm going to do it all on the floor. We're going to do a single leg first, single leg glute. We're going to take the spiky. We're going to straighten out the right leg. And I'm going to put the spiky in if you imagine your butt is square, the bottom right-hand corner of your right bum cheek. Okay. So the spiky goes in there, straight leg. All right. So dig it in there to your outer hip. Or outer butt, I should say. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to wiggle your butt. So one spiky, right-hand corner of your right bum cheek, and you're wiggling around till you find the sore area. Now, don't lift, push into the spiky and get it to work on that hip joint. Massage it around. Now, find a little tiny trigger point. So if you should twist more onto your side, I find it's better when you twist onto your side. Find that trigger point, hold it, and then lift that leg 1 inch off the floor. And that will tell you whether you definitely have a trigger point or not. Now play around with it. Pull that knee into your chest, press the leg out. Pull the knee into your chest, press that leg out. And that's really good. It gets right into that hip joint. I know I have black leggings and a black spiky. You can't tell where it is, but it's still underneath that hip and butt. Now, when I do this action, it kind of softens that trigger point. So what I do is I grab the spiky and I move it to a slightly different area that I can feel the trigger point. Now, throw the right ankle on top of the left knee, right ankle on top of the left knee, and wiggle your hips. So you're just swinging your hips like a little swing and massaging that outer hip. This is really good. You're forcing blood flow into the hip. You're forcing all the fibers apart that are congested and stuck together. And that's going to help with your flexibility as well as your mobility and maintenance of your hips. Nice and gentle. You're just wiggling from side to side, softening that area. Let's try and compare the other side. So let's take the spiky out from the right hip, go to the left leg, straighten out the left leg. Spiky goes into the bottom left-hand corner of the left bum cheek. Oh, that's sore already. Find it. You might have to root around, or if you're lucky enough, you just land straight onto it and you can just wiggle your butt. I don't even have to wiggle. This area is very congested, sore, and it's going to be super tight. And I'm just going to sit there. You don't have to wiggle if it's too sore. And then maybe try a little movement. Take the leg off the floor and pull the knee in so it opens up the muscle, and then you press it out. So pull the knee in. Good. Press it back out. Perfect. And just play around with where you're positioning that spiky. Then we chuck that left heel on top of the right knee and we swing. We just wiggle the hips. A nice swinging action. So the spiky starts to move around. And again, grab the spiky, move it up, move it down. Find all those little sore spots. Good. Find the little trigger points. Perfect. That's it. You're just trying to get the blood flowing back into those little ischemic muscles where basically they've withered up, and we're just trying to, make them soften and work again. Now we're going to go from hips into the low back, sticking with the single spiky. Drop your feet on the floor. Put the spiky into the right hand side of your lower back where your pelvis and spine meets. Take your butts are off the ground. Take your right ankle over your left knee. So your hips are off the floor. And all you're going to do is you're going to take the spiky and push it across that lower back. Okay, so it's wiggling your pelvis now. You start at the edge of your spine and you pull the spiky across, say to your outer hip or your love handle muscle initially. And then you take the spiky up a bit and you do the same thing. You find your trigger points. You're working up along the edge of your spine, rolling outwards. So you're raking across all those little muscles because they're all kind of rolling. Generally, they're running, say, from ribs down to pelvis, that direction. And that's just a good way to open them up. So you bring it up as high as you want, up as high as, say, well, the floating ribs, and you can work down, but you're just trying to identify your congested tissue. So keep going up and down, and then when you find the sorest point, you press the spike in there, and you lean over to the angle that catches you the most, and you're just going to hold it there for a few seconds. So apply that pressure, and this is just trying to force the muscles to kind of respond, and then let go of that tension, and get the blood flowing back in there for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do the other side. So let's put the spiky just on the left hand side of your spine, to the tip of your pelvis, top of your pelvis, left ankle to right knee, and we're doing the little swinging action from side to side. And you're just raking that spiky across the edge of your pelvis, right out to that love handle. Feel that burning sensation out there. So again, we just start to move the spiky, small increments. Work it up like, say, an inch at a time, and you're just checking, is it sore here? Is it sore in the last spot? Is it sore in the next one? You just keep going all the way up to your floating ribs till you find your trigger point and your area that's not working. And it mightn't even be sore. A trigger point or a congested tissue might just feel like a knot underneath the muscle. It just feels like a solid piece. Shouldn't feel like that. Shouldn't feel like a bone where it's supposed to be muscle. And that's the area, again, I want you to work on if you're not in any pain. So go to the trigger point, go to the tight area and wiggle on that specific area, and then just press and hold. Just breathe into it and just try to lean into that trigger point, into that spiky as deep as you can. For 3, 2, 1, and then drop those hips back down. Take those spikies out. And again, if you want to stay work on those low backs, stay there. We're going to take the spikies up between your shoulder blades into those little rhomboids. So now your spikies are in there, arms across your chest, and you're going to keep your heads on the floor, and you're going to rock yourself from side to side. Now, if it's not too bad, put your hands behind your head, lift your head, lift your hips, and roll up and down across those spikies. Nice and gentle. Go up as far as you can, down as low as you can. Now, if you are lifting your head, make sure you put your hands behind your head, because again, we don't want to fire up these neck muscles way too much, because if those neck muscles at the front get tight, it causes a lot of back of the neck and shoulder pain. We don't want that. So nice and gentle, up and down. Even if you're just rocking from side to side, shift the spikies up and down to different areas and find the tight muscles. Now, from here, we're going to go a little bit higher again into that upper trapezius muscle. So that is where all that tension travels up, and it sits here, pulls onto your neck. So let's get the tight little spikies into those tight muscles. Your head goes onto the floor. So it's not quite your neck. It's just the top of your shoulders where all that tension lies, okay? So tuck the 2 spikies in there. Your arms go up to the ceiling. You're going to lift your hips and shoulder bridge, but again, if that's too sore, hips go on the floor. Then you rock your arms from side to side and just note the tension that you're holding in that upper trapezius. And that's going to lead to kind of sinus pressure and sinus pain. So you might be feeling pressure across your cheeks, your eyes, and your nose. Now slowly inhale, take those arms back. Exhale towards your belly button. Inhale. And then exhale. Nice and slowly. Just applying as much pressure as you can bear. Do one more. Inhale, arms go back. And as you exhale, sink your spines down to the floor, drop your hips, drop your arms, and just kind of shrug your shoulders to your ears. Release that pressure. Now we're going to push the 2 spikies to your neck, and actually just put 1 spiky to your neck. So 1 spiky to your neck. Now, if you found a trigger point on your lower back or your hips or glutes the last time, take that other spiky and just push it in to that trigger point. And you can just wiggle your heads from side to side while just leaning down onto that spiky. And you're just massaging your neck from side to side. Now, nod your head. So if you find the right side of your neck is tighter, just roll to the right and nod your head on that right side. And then you draw circles, just pushing the spikies around the back of the neck, softening this little area. Reverse those circles. Now, just roll your head completely to the right. So it's still on the back of your neck, but I want you to roll it to the right-hand side. So say the muscles on the side of the neck are just pushing back into that spiky. And just press in there. Now, if you do have tension or trigger point there, the pressure usually goes up, say, to either top of the head, top of the eyebrow, or say side of the temple and cheek. So I want you to just apply that pressure to try and get that to release. And just hold it. And then bring it all the way over to the other side. And again, just comparing right to left. And just push gently into that spiky and just check, does the pressure go up into your temples, eyebrows, top of your head? And then bring it back into center. Now, get that single spiky, push it up to the base of your skull. And again, you're dipping your chin to your chest and you're going to wiggle your heads from side to side. And you're pushing it along what's called the occipital ridge. And it's the base of your skull. And there's teeny tiny muscles that attach along here. And they obviously twist the head and lift the head and move the head, but they get super tight and the pressure builds up. And that's where we get a lot of headaches and migraines from. So now let's just do the twisting action again. So turn your head to the right, same thing, right to the outer corner of your skull. There's a little pressure point there. Push into it and see if it travels up into your head, into your temples, eyebrows. And then do the same to your other side. Go all the way across. Press your head into those little spikies and just hold it. And then bring it back into center. Nod your heads up and down. And with your head, draw circles out and around. And reverse those circles. Now, let's take those spikies out. Drop your head to the floor. And you're going to draw circles across the sides and top of your head, releasing all that tension. You're going to bring it down onto your temples. Draw circles. Down onto your cheekbones. Down across your jaw. Down across your chin. Roll it in underneath your neck. Now, I want you to roll it right in at the back of the earlobe, right back there, from one side to the other, and just massage the side of those neck muscles. And then slowly bring it down onto your chest. Apply a bit more pressure as you roll across your chest and your shoulders, all the way across your ribs. And where your chest and your arm meets, that's where I want you to roll. That little point gets very congested. So just roll it there with one hand. And then do the other side. And it's going to be really good for lymphatic drainage as well, just where your chest and your shoulder meets. And then back up in through the neck. Across the jaw, circles on your jawline. Circles on your cheekbones. On your temples. Over your forehead. And then circle through the top and sides of your head, releasing that last bit of pressure. Now let's take the spikies in your hands. Take a deep breath. Bring your hands down by your sides. Hold your breath. Tense up all the muscles in your body. And then as you exhale, relax your feet, legs, hips, shoulders, arms, and then release the grip on your spikies.